Okay, so let's try to graph this one. X squared plus 2x plus 3 over x plus 1. Again, I'm going to start by finding my asymptotes. So my vertical asymptote is again related to my domain. It's trying to say, domain, I don't want x plus 1 to equal 0 because I can't have 0 in the bottom of a denominator. So my domain would be x cannot equal negative 1. Whereas my vertical asymptote then would be x equals negative 1. Okay, my horizontal asymptote is I'd be looking at this, and if these were the same power of x, so x squared over x squared, it would be my ratio. If the power of x in the top was lower, it would be 0. But since the power in the top is higher, I'm going to go ahead and actually do long division. So I'm going to divide this out. So x plus 1 into x squared plus 2x plus 3. So x times x would give me x squared. X times 1 is plus x. I'll subtract both parts. So again, x, bring down my 3. So 1 times x gives me x. 1 times 1 is 1. I'll subtract both parts. So plus 2. So if I write this out, I get x plus 1 plus 2 over x plus 1. So again, this is one where I don't actually have a horizontal asymptote. That is my asymptote, and we're going to call it a slant asymptote. So we're going to graph both of these now. So my slant asymptote was at x plus 1. So I got a vertical asymptote at negative 1. My slant asymptote at x plus 1, which is a line. I could look at it as y equals x plus 1. So it would be up 1. And then use my slope to get to my next part. So my slant asymptote would look something like that. So now I just need to see again where my graph actually lies. So I'm going to sub in some points. First point I'm going to sub in is 0, just because zeros are usually pretty easy. So if I sub in x, y, 0, I get 3. So I have a point at 0. That would be 1, 2, 3. So up here. So which means my graph should probably follow my slant asymptote. Well, my asymptotes. So I'm going to draw my graph there, showing that it's following it. So I'm going to plug in another point. I'm going to go ahead and I'm assuming it's going to keep going that way. So I'm not going to plug in any points further to the right on the x because it looks like it's going to go. But it looks like it's getting stopped at this negative 1. So I'm going to plug in some points further to the left. So I'm going to plug in like a negative, that's a negative 1. So I'll plug in negative 3. If I plug in negative 3, I get negative 3 squared is 9, minus 6, because 2 times negative 3, so that'd be 3, plus 3 is 6. So I'm going to get 6 over negative 3 plus 2 is negative 2. So negative 3. So I'm going to get something that should be down here. So my graph should look something like that. Okay.